Yes, it's John G. Sutton. Tales from the jails. I've got that twitch back again, haven't I? Anyway, I want to talk a little bit about what's forthcoming here. 17th of October, Sean Atwood, on his podcast, Real Crime, True Crime, you can get it. There's an interview with me on there, and you'll see it. If you go on to Sean Atwood's actual site now, there's a trailer there. You can see. Now, one of the controversial things that's in this podcast is, and I had some feedback on this already, is that people are commenting they don't quite believe that the Freemasons were a big problem in the prisons. Well, they're not a big problem in the prisons for most people. It's only when you try to stop them from actually abusing their positions that you find that they don't like it. You see, deny this or not, and there are people out there that do deny it, the Freemasons were actually, to a certain extent, running the jails. Certainly running the jails at the Scrubs. When I was at the Scrubs, the treasurer of the Prison Officers Association was a principal officer at the time in 1975. He also ran the hostel. They had a hostel immediately outside the gates of Wormwood Scrubs. Just as you go through the main iron gates, on the left, that was the hostel. Directly in front, big oak and metal door, and the two towers, with Elizabeth Fry and John Howard. That's the two prison reformers who are commemorated on the towers of Wormwood Scrubs. You'll see them there. Well, the chairman of... no, he wasn't the chairman. He was the treasurer of the Prison Officers Association, and he ran the hostel, which had about 15 inmates in there who were at the end of their service, end of their time, and they were actually getting ready to go back into society, and that was the halfway house, like a hostel, where they worked in things. The guy who was the treasurer of the Prison Officers Association, he was eventually turned over for robbing the funds of the union. He helped himself to the funds of the union. Also, whilst I was there, I found that the hostel at Wormwood Scrubs was being used, believe this or believe it not, as a base for armed robberies. So the inmates, certainly one of the inmates, that was in there, was going out into London robbing places. And he actually was stupid enough to come back late one Saturday night when I was the officer in charge of the hostel at night. And he came back late. And I said, you are late, but I said, don't worry about this. He could have been about 11 o'clock, should have been there for 10:30 or something like that. Anyway, I said, you are late, but don't worry about it. I said, I'm going to annotate the book, the incident book, to show you're late. That covers my back, But you don't need to worry about it, because I'm not phoning anybody up. And as far as I know, nobody's going to read the damn book. So it's settled, I said, anyway, he was drunk, I said, what would you like? Would you like a cup of tea? I have a cup of tea, boss. I remember this quite clearly. He wanted a cup of tea with 2 sugars, So I gave him a cup of tea with 2 sugars, sat him down at the table, said, just drink this nice hot tea, sober up, then off you go to bed. You'll be right as rain in the morning. What a bloody day I've had today. He said, it's absolutely brilliant. And he was telling me this story, and I just thought, the guy's round the bend. I really did. He said, no, he said, we've had a great time, what a success. He said, we got them all in the back room, we had the shooters out, we told them we were policemen, we put them up, tied them up against the wall, and said, we got loads of money. I thought, he's living in dreamland, this fella, he's obviously reliving his past, because he was in for armed robbery. And I said, all right, well, I'm glad you've had a good day then. Have you finished with your tea? Yeah. Off to bed now. I'll see you in the morning, yeah? All right, I'll see you now. Oh, and off he went. Anyway, on the way home the following morning, I was going past a newsagent's and I saw a copy of the newspaper. I get myself a Sunday paper. I'll just have a read for half an hour before I go to bed because I've been up all night, well, effectively. So I picked a copy of the Sunday Mirror. Yeah, I don't know what made me get that, but it was an headline on the front page. It said, "Armed robbery in West End." So I thought I'll read that when I get home. So I got back to the apartment where I was at 118 Bromyard Avenue. I lived at. This is 1976, yeah? And I sat down at the table and I started reading this, and it gave an account, the newspaper gave an account of an armed robbery that was conducted at a place called the Jean Junction in the West End of London. Apparently these armed robbers had gone in with shotguns, fake ID, told them that they were police, ordered them into the back room, tied them up and robbed the store. I thought, I've heard this story before. Yeah, last night, from that drunken inmate. And at the bottom of it said, if anybody has any information concerning this, ring West End Central CID. So I said to my wife, I'm just going, I had a piece of toast and a cup of coffee and all that. I said, I'm just going to go and ring the police about this. So I went out the flat, because we didn't have a telephone. No mobile phones in them days, 1976. So I went down, there was a telephone box, and I rang up the number that it said in West End Central CID. All right, listen to what I'd said, and they said, we're interested in this. Where do you live? I gave them my name, and I gave them the address. Asked me again, where do you live? Gave them the same name, and I gave them the address, 118 Bromyard Avenue. And they said, you go back to Bromyard, you go back to your flat, stay there, we're going to send somebody around to have a word with you. So I went round to my flat, in there, said to my wife, they said they're going to come round. No sooner as I said that, the police were at the door. Plainclothes officer, CID, came in, introduced himself as Inspector somebody or other. Anyway, said, I want you to tell me exactly what happened, how you come about this information. So I told him, I said I was the officer in charge of the hostel overnight at Wormwood Scrubs, and this prisoner came in and told me this story about how he'd gone in and robbed these people at a place in the West End, and had a great time, and all this money he'd taken in. He said, right, he said, get in the car, because I had to get changed because I was in my scruff, in my uniform. So I went and got changed into a suit. I had a suit, in them days you did have suits, So I got in this suit and I went with them to, where was it? Acton Central Police Station. No, Ealing Police Station, yeah. And took me into this room, said, we've heard what you've got to say, now I want you to tell Chief Inspector such a body. So this even more senior police officer came down. And he said, I'm Chief Inspector such and such a man. He said, tell me exactly what you know about this. So I told him exactly the same story. I'd been in the hostel and this guy come in, pissed, told me how he'd been in London with his mates, sawn off shotguns, false ID cards, and ordered them into the back, tied them up and robbed the place. And it didn't say this in the paper, actually. It wasn't anything about false ID cards or shotguns or anything like that, just about an armed robbery. It didn't say what they were armed with. So anyway, I told him all this. He said, right. He said, I want you to ring up the governor of Wormwood Scrubs and tell him that you're with West End Central CID, the Sweeney. He said, and we're going to raid the hostel now, immediately. So I said, well, I'll ring him up. And it was Norman Honey, So I rang up the prison and spoke to the security. I said, Officer Sutton here, I must speak to the governor, Norman Honey. I must speak to Norman Honey immediately. So they put me through to Norman Honey. And I told him the story, and Norman Honey says to me, I don't believe you. I said, well, you don't have to believe me. I said, get your security officers to ring Ealing Police Station and ask to speak to Detective Chief Inspector such and such a body. I said, you'll get through to the police station and they will put the inspector on. He's standing next to me. And I said, in fact, I'll hand you the phone. So I handed the phone to him and he said, I'm going to ring you back. And that was it. It took about half an hour before the phone went. And it was the prison, and it was the security officer at the prison. And he said, yes, okay. He said, I'll meet you outside the prison gates. So seriously, this is God's honest truth what happened. Three squad cars, the Sweeney were in there, all tooled up, yeah. We're off. Through the streets, yeah. Ealing to East Acton, up Duquesne Road, into the Scrubs. Standing outside the hostel was the principal officer in charge of security at the Scrubs. And this chief inspector went up to him. He said, right, open the door. He said, I'm sorry to have to advise you this. He said, but in the prison service, he said, we do not allow inmates' property to be searched when they're not present. He said, and there's nobody currently present in the hostel. You see, what had happened was, since I'd phoned up at about 11:15, 10:30, they'd emptied the hostel. All 15 inmates have been told, get out, the police are coming. Yeah, seriously, this had happened. Yeah, the prison officers had done that. Seriously. Anyway, the chief inspector says to him, I said, who the hell are you? He said, I'm the principal officer in charge of security. He said, well, I'll tell you what. He said, if you don't get out of my fucking way, he said, I am going to arrest you for obstructing the police. I'm going to put you in the back of that van. He said to me, Mr. Sutton, can you open the door for me, please? I said, yes, certainly. Well, of course, I hadn't got a key. They'd locked the bloody thing. So I just took a flying run at it and kicked it off its hinges. Hey, and I said, you're in. Hey, so they went in, they searched it, and in the lockers they found false ID cards, yeah, imitation police shirts and all that. What they found in there, yeah. But the inmates had disappeared. They'd gone. Because somebody had alerted them. They never reappeared. The guy who was the one who was drunk and told me all about it, he never reappeared. Never. It was years later, 2 years later, I was at Strangeways Prison in Manchester, and I got a call from West End Central CID. They said, asked me if it was who I was. I said, yes, that's me. They said, oh, we've just arrested a man, and he's confessed to the armed robbery at the Jean Junction in the West End. He said, and when we've gone through the file, we came across your statement. He said, and he was the inmate from the hostel at the Scrubs. And it's exactly as you said. He said, and we're going to put him on trial at the Old Bailey. We want you to come and give evidence for this. Would I do it? I said, of course I'll do it. I said, but you'll have to send me a witness summons because I work for the Home Office and they don't seem too keen on me solving crimes. Seriously, yeah. So anyway, that was it. He must have gone in and just held his hand up and pleaded guilty because I never heard any more from that. But the police put me down for a commendation. And what do you think I got? I'll tell you what I got. I got a written warning from the governor, a written warning that in the event that I ever contacted the police directly again, then I would be either suspended or dismissed or whatever threat. He made some horrible threat like that, and that as a result of my actions, I would be reduced in seniority and prevented from entering any promotion board for a period of 7 years. That's what I got for that. Seriously, the bunch. Hey, and they're all Masons. The principal officer in charge of the hostel, Freemason. The principal officer in charge of security, Freemason. Norman Honey in charge of the governor in charge of the prison, Freemason. The whole damn lot. Anyway, people say to me, they don't believe that the Freemasons were behind all this. I'm telling you, I'm not making this up. Anyway, here we go. It's ding, 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 song dinger time. I'm going to sing you a song that I wrote, yeah? This is, the lyrics are in my book, yeah? And the song is called The Last Train Home. Are you ready? Are you all sitting comfortably? You can hear my nice new mic here, yeah? I'm going to sing this to you now. It's a bit of a country type song. The song is actually telling the story of a spirit, of a person who's passed into the next dimension, and they're making the journey from this material plane into the next dimension of life that we mistakenly call death. But it isn't. And the spirit is on a train station, and he's waiting to take the last train home. Are you all sitting comfortably? I'm about to bugger that for you good and proper. The shades of night are falling fast. I hear a whistle blown in the distance, rolling on the last train home. I listen to a lonesome owl calling in the night. I'm thinking of what might have been. I tried to do it right. You know, looking back's not easy when all your seeds are sown and you're staring at that ticket for the last train home. The wind is blowing colder now, and yes, here comes the rain. Will that girl be waiting when I step off this old train? She told me that she loved me, seems like only yesterday, with her perfumed hair and long blonde hairs. I walked the other way. You know, looking back's not easy when all your seeds are sown and you're staring at the ticket for the last train home. The station lights are dimly lit, cast shadows in the rain. Sitting in this carriage, looking back on my pain. I dread my destination, and the driver rings his bell. I'm heading down a railroad track on a one-way road to hell. You know, looking back's not easy when all your seeds are sown and you're staring at the ticket for the last train home. Too late now for sad regrets, the chances I have missed. I'm dreaming of my lady and the day that we first kissed. The train is in the station and I hear the whistle moan. There she is waiting. This is my last train home. You know, looking back's not easy when all your seeds are sown and you're staring at that ticket for the last train home. Yeah, Last Train Home by John G. Sutton. So there you are. As for the Masons being involved in it, they were deeply involved in it. Believe me. Anyway, do look at that Sean Atwood. Yeah, the trailer is on his site now. It says something. It's got my picture on there from 1976. I didn't have grey hair then. Oh. Thank you very much. Don't forget, Tales from the Jails. Do like and subscribe and all that.